Good evening, it's 8 o'clock. I'm Sally Burdett, live from Johannesburg. Your top stories this evening. Hundreds of thousands of rands, all for bribes, says former Bosasa executive Angelo Agrizzi. But the commission is cut short amid fears for his safety.
Many of these executives responsible for running Transnet went to the office every day primarily to loot.
Transnet takes legal action against gravy train executives found guilty of looting the Transport Authority coffers. And a village in Limpopo says they've had months with no running water. And now these impoverished residents say they have to buy their own. Well, let's start here. Transnet is getting tough on former and current executives. The state-owned enterprise has started legal proceedings to recoup monies lost through corruption and mismanagement. Transnet chairman Popo Molefe says corruption at the rail and port company looks like, quote, a horror movie. John Bailey reports.
Professional thieves. That's how Transnet chairman Popo Molefe describes some former and current executives at the port and rail operator. Various managers have been removed or suspended by the company, while others have resigned. The cleanup was announced by President Cyril Ramaphosa early last year.
Many of these executives responsible for running Transnet went to the office every day primarily to loot, to take money out of the organization. But I must hasten to say that there were many more who knew nothing about what was happening.
Summons have been issued to former top executives implicated in financial mismanagement with a view to recovering some of the wasted money. They include ex-CEO Siyabonga Gama, former CEO Brian Molefe, ex-Chief Financial Officer Anosh Singh, former Chief Financial Officer Gary Pitter, and others.
Civil action, is it proceeding to recover the money? What is the amount involved? So far, we calculated about 1.3 billion rand.
Transnet's also reviewing the controversial contracts for 1,064 locomotives. The company says it doesn't need all the trains. Meanwhile, the appointment of a permanent chief executive at the SOE will be delayed as the board focuses on stabilizing operations. John Bailey, Johannesburg.
Well, yesterday, the DA launched a dramatic publicity campaign. Today, a group of people claiming to be relatives of the Life Esidimeni victims ripped apart one of the massive billboards. Two men were filmed cutting through and ripping the billboard in Braamfontein, Johannesburg. The DA has described the act as criminal, blaming the ANC. The billboard is titled "The ANC is Killing Us" and lays the blame for the Marikana massacre, Life Esidimeni tragedy and pit toilet deaths on the governing party. It lists the names of those who died in these incidents. The DA is claiming lives will be saved and suffering avoided if it's elected to govern. Well, let's move now to the state capture inquiry, and it's been another day of astounding testimony from former Bosasa COO Angelo Agrizzi. Agrizzi showed a 2017 video of piles of cash in the Bosasa offices, all intended for bribes, he alleges. But as the testimony hotted up, so did security concerns, and Agrizzi was whisked away from the commission in the afternoon. Now, he has been living under witness protection for some time now, but Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo is adamant tomorrow's hearing will take place. Here's Erin Bates.
Thursday's afternoon hearing was canned.
There was a security situation in the building connected with the hearing that needed to be looked into.
It follows a startling allegation. Witness Angelo Agrizzi was concerned that the special operations manager for his old company pitched up unexpectedly on Wednesday.
When I went for the lunch break, he was standing outside with a group of policemen They were in uniform, he was not.
Oh,
I then asked to verify, because I did not
Yes.
just want to make an allegation.
yes.
He was most definitely here.
Yes.
And to me, it's concerning that they
Yes.
report to me as well that he didn't go through the normal accreditation and he slipped
Yes.
in on his old police ID card.
Agrizzi paints a grim picture of Bosasa.
Mr. Watson was sitting with a gentleman by the name of Killer Timba. And the guy opened up a bag and showed me a big, I don't know what kind of, I don't own a gun, I've never used a gun, so I wouldn't know.
Could you play the video, please?
He submitted a video from 2017. In it, CEO Gavin Watson, CFO Andries van Tonder, Chairman Joe Gumede, and spokesperson Papa Leshabane. Agrizzi says it shows them with laundered money intended for kickbacks.
And I'll tell you how much more or less it would be. 50, that's 100,000 rand.
Tell us how you can tell.
Chair, because I
Or you
used,
did a lot of these.
it was part of my job.
He claims Bosasa paid bribes to people on the outside and hush money to staff.
What is the order of chicken for today?
They would call the cash bread that had to go into the oven. The CEO is said to have called it monopoly money.
It's just monopoly money, so we can get the monopoly. And the other phrase was monopoly money because it's just playing money. You're playing with people.
Watson's seen counting stacks of cash most South Africans will never see in a lifetime.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, brother. 1 million exactly.
Okay.
And Agrizzi can tally the value in a flash.
That there is 900,000.
Okay, thank you. What motivated the taking of this video?
The one thing that you must bear in mind is that Gavin Watson would never sign anything. He would tell you, I've never signed anything. You can't pin anything on me. And he would then sell you up. And that is what motivated the video.
He's yet to mention real political heavyweights. And despite the security situation, Zondo's insistent he and Agrizzi will return on Friday. Erin Bates, Johannesburg.
Riveting stuff. Thousands of Cape Town pupils are still waiting to be placed in schools. In Mpuleni, many are being temporarily kept at a clinic and community hall. Parents say at least 2 more schools are needed in the area. The Western Cape Education Department is asking the city of Cape Town to release land to build new primary school there. In Khayelitsha, hundreds of primary school pupils have nowhere to go. Some parents have been asked to return again next week to check whether space can be made for their children. Meanwhile, Gauteng parents have until noon tomorrow to accept school placements for their children or forfeit them. Over 37,000 late applications have been received for this year. All children who've applied late in Gauteng have provisionally been placed in schools. The Gauteng Education Department is confident all pupils will have a space by the end of this month. Still ahead on eNews, dozens of people are still missing after Tuesday's deadly attack in Nairobi. And of course, business news with Rafiwa.
Absolutely, Sally. So the rand slumped above that 13.80 mark against the US dollar after the SARB kept interest rates unchanged. So we'll find out why it showed such a negative reaction after those particular details.
Residents of a village in Malamulele, Limpopo, are being forced to buy bottled water. Macassar's taps have been running dry for months now, and government, the people there say, isn't responding. Zikona Chona visited the area and put together this report.
Good day, Nyami Sankuna is spending at least 20 rand on water. That's for 5 25-litre bottles. But most days the situation is dire.
Loko ichava swimbirhi hi siku swa swi hela ku na swihlangi sweswiya swi la ku hlamba.
These taps are found on corners throughout the village, but they're empty. They've been dry since October last year. Residents are now relying on people with cars to sell them water at 4 rand per bottle. Community members say this struggle is a norm. They're claiming the last time they had decent running water was shortly after democracy.
Mati a tivi ku hi magini rini. Lembe ka va Mandela.
Nkuna is feeling helpless and believes government doesn't care.
Hi ta ku yini ko ku hlupheka swa vava. Swa vava ko va ku hlupheka hi swi tina ku hi ta endla yini.
The sentiment is being shared by many here.
Tiphayiphi leti mi ti vonaka kumbe leti hi nga mi komba tona ta mfumo wa khale lowa wa national. Hi ndlela yin'wanyana nga ku mfumo wa Gazankulu a ka ha ri na nikisanani mfumo wa Gazankulu.
In times like these, the community would use this dam, which they share with animals. But it hasn't rained for some time, so the only option is to pay up.
Na hi December swi va swi ka swi fana. Loko hi ku mfumo wa hi tisela nyana, wu ngo pfana ka nkarhi wun'wanyana wu tisa mati malamaya ma swifundza. Mara swa tika ku ri mata na hi December swi va swi ri hi ndlela yaleyi. Hi va hi ka hi hlupheka hi mati.
The Vhembe district municipality says the matter is, quote, getting the necessary attention. But for now, residents of Makasa will have to continue digging deep into their pockets for a basic service. Zikhona Tshona, Malamulele in Limpopo.
Well, that's the stark reality in some parts of the country, quite sad. But you've got business news, Rafua.
And some bit of good news.
And it's some good news. Tell us more.
Absolutely. So the South African Reserve Bank delivered its monetary policy decision this afternoon and has decided to keep rates unchanged at 6.75%. And I say it's good news because if you have a bond or a car or any other long-term loan, you are not going to be paying any more interest rate hikes as was anticipated in November when the SARB increased. So when they did in November, they said something. So it was waitline expected, I must add. But what was a surprise was the fact that in November they had anticipated another 4 increases, including the one we saw in November. Now they come out and they say they only anticipate 1, and this is between now and 2021.
That is fantastic news.
So a little bit of reprieve there for the South African consumer, but I mean, of course, these conditions that contributed to this particular decision have to stay the same, and these include that lower oil price, the stronger rand, which is the weaker dollar, as well as food prices. But food prices are a bit of concern because of the drought situation that has been affecting maize crops in the northern parts of the country.
As we saw in that piece, actually.
Absolutely. So let's actually have a listen to what the governor had to say about growth forecasts for South Africa.
The domestic growth outlook remains sluggish. Although GDP increased by 2.2% in the third quarter of 2018, private sector fixed investments remains weak and production in key sectors is volatile. The SARB now expects growth in 2018 to have averaged 0.7%. The growth forecast for 2019 is 1.7%. It's unchanged at 2% for 2020 and increases to 2.2% in 2021.
We'll take it. How are the markets today?
Let's see how your money worked for you today. So the JSE closed in the red, and this was driven by a bloodbath seen in the general retailer sector, as well as the banks also being under pressure. So we saw dismal trading updates from Woolworths and Mr. Price, which caused a rather rough trading day. On the commodities front, oil prices fell today, and this is as U.S. crude production nears a whopping 12 million barrels a day, adding to that operational glut. And this is further fueled by that demand as the trade war fears persist. Meanwhile, gold was lower today, while platinum showed no major movements. Onto the rand now. The local unit was weaker against major global currencies today, and it further extended those losses after the Reserve Bank made the decision to leave rates unchanged for the first quarter.
Thank you very much, Rufua.
Thank you very much, Sally.
Soon. Well, let's take a look at stories making international headlines now. And the death toll from the terror attack in Kenya is now at 21. But there are concerns that more bodies will be discovered as police comb through the building. Dozens of people remain unaccounted for. The attack took place at an upscale hotel and office park in Nairobi on Tuesday. Militant group Al-Shabaab says US President Donald Trump's decision to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital was the motive for the attack. US National Security Council says the attack explains why they remain resolved in their fight against terrorism. Still ahead, we'll go to our weather centre in Cape Town, and there's Candace standing by. Hi there, Candace. And then, it's not every day that you see dogs and cats going to church. We have Candace McKechnie in Cape Town, who's going to give us all the weather news and a storm update, I hope.
Well, Sally, the weather has been quite consistent this week, so not much to talk about with another sizzling hot day over the central parts and a few thunderstorms in the northeast. But we are expecting a change in the weather as we head towards Friday. Ahead of a cold front, we'll see a bit of light rain and drizzle along the west coast, as well as some fog overnight. And then on Friday, that cold front brings in a few bouts of showers over the southwestern and southern part of South Africa. We're even expecting a few showers into the Eastern Cape, with thunderstorms forming yet again over the northeastern parts, and then very hot weather continues over the central part of South Africa. A few degrees cooler over the western part of the country, though, highs heading into the 20s over the western part of the Northern Cape. Uppington and Presco also expecting cooler weather, both in the mid-30s. Kimberley still sizzling hot at a sunny 40. Cooler temperatures are forecast for the Western Cape. You'll see most highs in the 20s here, with the possibility of rainfall. Scorching hot over the Eastern Cape interior, quite a few of those highs in the upper 30s, with a combination of showers and thundershowers. In KwaZulu-Natal, we're also expecting sweltering hot weather, 37 for Pietermaritzburg. A very slight chance of showers much later on in the day. On Mpumalanga, can expect thundershowers in the Highveld with a warm afternoon, hot and dry for the Lowveld, and that also extends through to the eastern and northern part of Limpopo. But with thundershowers for the rest of the province, 31 for Polokwane. A few thundershowers remain over the far eastern part of northwest, with another sizzling hot afternoon in store. Vryburg and Bloemhof both at 39 degrees. You'll also see scorching hot temperatures for Bloemfontein and Welkom at 38 degrees. 35 for Bethlehem with a partly cloudy and dry day. It's a hot end to the work week for Gauteng. Pretoria 35 degrees, 33 for Vereniging, with up to a 40% chance of thundershowers here. Now, as we head towards the weekend, you'll still see hot weather and thunderstorms in the northeast, with cloudy, wet and cooler weather for KwaZulu-Natal. A bit of rain remains along the southern and southeastern coastline, and on Sunday we're still expecting a bit of rain for KZN, with cooler temperatures for Gauteng and a sunny and hot day in the west. That's all from the Weather Centre. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you. You as well. Candace McKechnie in Cape Town. And finally, now of course you love your pet, but how dedicated are you really? Some owners make an annual pilgrimage to have their furry friends blessed. The Feast of St. Anthony, Spain's patron saint of animals, is being celebrated today. Pet owners and their four-legged friends have queued outside churches around the country waiting to be blessed. It's believed the blessing is for long life and good health, and hopefully good walks as well. Let's recap your top stories this evening. Hundreds of thousands of rands, all for bribes, says former Bosasa executive Angelo Agrizzi. Transnet takes legal action against gravy train executives found guilty of looting. And a village in Limpopo says they've had months with no running water and they now have to buy their own. And that's your news from me and the team. Take care. Good night.